What's up, everyone? My name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Delta Gligars. Today I'm bringing you my Week 6 team builder for the BBR. We are going up against the creator. That's all that needs to be said. Steve and his Milwaukee Sawsbucks. You can see his team on the right side of the screen. Steve, I believe at this point in the season, is 2-3. He is looking to propel himself out of the non-playoff teams into the current playoff teams. He's very close to, with a win this week, he can probably propel himself into a playoff position, and that's where he's going to want to stay for the rest of the season. So, we are trying to bounce back from our first loss of the season last week, and we've got a pretty strong team to do so. Not one that I'm 100% confident in, but one that I think is pretty solid overall. I would say go check out my opponent's side of the battle, but to be honest, I don't even know what his YouTube is off the top of my head, because he's gone by so many names. Like, I know he's been like Pokemon Trainer Steve, he's been Above Average Steve, he's been, I think it might be like Steve aka Magnitude is what he's calling himself now. Before that it used to be just Magnitude with a 4 and a 2 in the name. So, but you can just call him Steve and everybody knows who you're talking about. So yeah, go check out his channel. It does post-coms for all these games. A rare post-commer these days, and you can guarantee that it will be an entertaining one. Looking at Steve's team, the top 5 Mons that you see on your screen are the Mons that he has brought to by far the most of his first 5 games. I believe Ferrothorn and Lucario have both of his steel types. Both steel types have come to all 5 games so far. And then you have Dragapult, Sylveon, and Quagsire that have made appearances in 4 out of 5 first games. And then the bottom 5 Mons, he's brought some of them only once, some of them only twice, not nearly as often. So I definitely prepped a lot more for the top 5 Mons than I did for the bottom 5 Mons, but I still have, I think I still have decent enough ways of beating the bottom 5 Mons. Kicking the team off with Volcarona this week, he has 2 potential Stealth Rockers in Ferrothorn and Claydol. The Ferrothorn can also set up spikes. However, we are not running heavy-duty boots this week. Originally, I was going to run boots, but I decided not to because I really needed the extra damage output that charcoal gives me to make sure that I have a chance to beat his Dragapult with Volcarona. Dragapult, in my opinion, is the best ghost type in the format. It has so many resistances, so fast, and especially in singles when Dragon Darts hits so hard on individual Pokemon. I have EV'd this Volcarona to make sure I always survive an Adamant Life Orb Dragon Darts from full HP. That attack is so strong, and Volcarona doesn't have much physical defense to take it, but it has enough. And so with the Charcoal, if we get a Quiver Dance up, then Fiery Dance +1 Fiery Dance into +2 Fiery Dance, as long as we get the 50% special attack increase, which it's 50%, it's not guaranteed, but I'm going to be relying on it to beat Dragapult. If we get that boost, then we should be beating Dragapult 1v1. Dragapult can still set up a Dragon Dance in the face of a Volcarona that's boosted up with Quiver Dance. So if he is Dragon Dance, then he clicks that, and then Dragon Darts will OHKO me more than likely. But this is the best that I can do against Dragapult. It's good against the rest of his team. We have Giga Drain there to make sure we can OHKO his Quagsire, because Quagsire can pack a Rock move, or just run Waterfall instead of Scald and hit me really hard with that. And then Fiery Dance is really the only other attacking move we need for his team. Charizard is another thing that could wall this. I just don't beat Charizard. I'm not bringing rocks on this team either. I'm assuming if Charizard comes to check Volcarona, it's going to be boots anyway. Or it could be like a cheeky Power Herb set. I wouldn't put that past Steve. This is also my only switch-in to a offensive Sylveon. I am extremely afraid of Spec Sylveon in this game. I think it's really, really, really good. And that if he Spec Sylveon is going to be really, really difficult for me to deal with. I can resist his Hyper Voice with Volcarona because I don't have a Steel type on my team. This is actually my only resist to Hyper Voice, which is kind of a problem because Spec Psyshock actually 2-hit KOs me. It does over half. It does like 65% to me. So yeah, if he's locked into Psyshock, then I have a pivot into Pangoro. I have a pivot into Alakazam. I mean, I'm sure even Alakazam might get 2-hit KO'd by a resisted Psyshock, but yeah, at least we can roost off the damage that Sylveon does to us, and if we force him out, then that's good enough for me. Next on the team is going to be this Lycanroc. Lycanroc is pretty good here because it gets a priority move in Sucker Punch that is Tough Claws boosted and hits Dragapult super effectively. With the Life Orb, we OHKO Dragapult with Sucker Punch. Now, I do have to be very careful, or very afraid well, careful and afraid, I guess those both work, of Substitute Dragapult. Substitute is a pretty common, I would say it's a pretty common move to pack on Dragapult when going up against a Rotom that has a very difficult time breaking its sub, although my Rotom won't have a difficult time breaking its sub. We ain't giving free subs to Dragapult, hell no. So we can hit that thing with Sucker Punch. We don't have a rock move on this, so this is not as great a response to Charizard as I would like. It can resist its dual stabs and maybe take a hit and switch in on it. However, if I don't have any prior damage on the Charizard, my hardest hitting move against it is Psychic Fangs. Iron Head and Close Combat are both resisted. Now, I may regret not having a rock move on this, but I really, really wanted to make sure I had a reliable way of hitting Sylveon, a reliable way of hitting Weezing. Psychic Fangs, I believe, is essential. I could have just run Stone Edge instead of Iron Head as my hardest way of hitting the Sylveon, but because I am so afraid of the offensive Sylveon set, I decided to make sure that I have an accurate move to hit it, and Iron Head, Life Orb, Tough Claws boosted will annihilate the Sylveon. One other thing about Sylveon is that it naturally outspeeds Pangoro, which is why I am not bothering to run a ton of speed investment on this Pangoro. I was considering running Throat Chop as my Dark-type move, but there's not much point in doing that if he is going to be a spec set with, like, if he brings specs, he honestly should have both Hyper Voice and Moonblast because of the Throat Chop potential. I mean, what other moves are you going to run on Sylveon? Like, there's Psyshock, Mystical Fire, and Shadow Ball, but do you need all three of those? I don't really know. I would much rather have the option of clicking Moonblast if I brought a, like, Throat Chop Pangoro. So yeah, we're just not bothering to try and outspeed Sylveon because I don't want to think that I'm going to outspeed him and then it turns out that I don't. Because, you know, if he's just modest max speed, then he will outspeed an adamant max speed Pangoro. Instead, we have Knockoff as a Dark-type move. If he switches the Sylveon in to Pangoro, then if I get rid of his specs, I think that is very beneficial for us. I can also, if we get rid of leftovers, then we see he's maybe not quite as offensive and a lot easier for my team to deal with, I think. That may or may not be true, but who knows. Anyways, we're running Close Combat as our fighting type move for the first time on Pangoro this season. Previously, we had Drain Punch as our fighting type move of choice. However, we need that extra power that extra power is going to be really nice against stuff like Quagsire and the Ferrothorn. I was actually thinking about running Iron Fist Fire Punch to hit Ferrothorn, but Close Combat actually just is about the same power as Iron Fist Fire Punch. It's slightly weaker, but by a very negligible amount. So we're just going with Close Combat. And we're Mold Breaker with Swords Dance, so we can, if we set up a Swords Dance in front of something like a Ferrothorn as he goes into Quagsire, then we can actually ignore his Unaware if he chooses to bring Unaware Quagsire. Personally, if I'm bringing Quagsire in this matchup, I'm bringing it as Water Absorb to switch into Rotom-Wash every single time. But we have the Mold Breaker there just in case. There's no point in running Iron Fist because we don't have any punching moves on this set. We also have Grass Knot. Knockoff or Close Combat into Grass Knot actually should KO a Quagsire. So we don't need to set up Swords Dance, but I figured that's something that I wanted to try regardless. Yeah, because you know if he has like if he doesn't bring the Quagsire, his response to Pangoro is the Wheezing. Then we have a little bit of speed still. Wheezing hits the same speed as Sylveon. I don't think he would run as much speed on the Wheezing as he might want to on the Sylveon. So we can maybe try to outspeed the Wheezing before he has a chance to click Will-O-Wisp against us. We have a Chople Berry as our item because we don't like switching into Lucario. We can resist its dual stabs with Volcarona, but if I don't have to switch things into Lucario, I prefer not to. Yeah. So that's the Pangoro set. I'm not sure if this is the best set that I could have brought, to be perfectly honest, but we're trying some different move choices on this thing this time. Next, Rotom-Wash. I think I had to fit onto the team because otherwise, Charizard is something that I think could come, so I really want to make sure that I have something to deal with it. I also needed a way to get rid of hazards because I decided not to bring Boots on my Volcarona. So we're bringing Defog here. We have Foul Play. We have Will-O-Wisp. I really wanted to make sure that I had a way of getting residual damage against a Sylveon. Because a Sylveon that is more offensive that I need to switch Volcarona into and repeatedly click Roost to heal off damage that it's doing, I needed to make sure that I have a way of chipping it down turn by turn. I don't care if it's Toxic or Will-O-Wisp. I would rather have Will-O-Wisp because I can also get that off against a Ferrothorn. And then Hydro Pump is our attacking move to hit things like the Claydol, like the Charizard, and also the Manectric if he thinks he can switch that in on a Volt Switch and get a Lightning Rock boost. Because we actually don't have any resistances to Manectric on this team either. Yeah, having Sandslash as my ground type is kind of iffy. We put enough speed in this Rotom to guarantee outspeed modest max speed Sylveon, and we have enough special defense so that we're not OHKO'd by Specs, Sylveon, or Dragapult if he decides to bring Specs Dragapult. And then the rest is into Fizdef to try to take close combats from Lucario. That's basically it. A Guava Berry to, if we're taking hits from Specs, Dragapult, and Sylveon, then we can heal a third of that back and be brought up to about 50%, which is a reasonable amount of health. Foul Play is just for Dragapult, so that it can't set up subs against us. I mentioned that earlier. We need an immunity to Dragapult's Dragon Stab, so we have this Aromatisse here. We also need to make sure we can OHKO a Dragapult. That's why we have Pixie Plate instead of Leftovers, because Stab Moonblast from Aromatisse actually cannot KO a Dragapult. That's how good this mon is. Just enough natural bulk to force us to run Pixie Plate over Leftovers. Same reason for having Will-O-Wisp on the Rotom as having Toxic on Aromatisse. I want to get residual damage off against this Sylveon, so if I can get a Toxic off on a switch against that thing, that's going to be really nice. If he's a more defensive set, though, with Toxic himself, then I may regret not having, like, Aromatherapy or something over Toxic on my Aromatisse, but I just want to make sure that I don't lose, like, 2 or 3 Pokemon to a Specs Sylveon, because I have passive Mons on the field in front of it. So, yeah, that's nothing special really about Aromatisse. Last but not least is going to be this Alakazam. With the Choice Scarf, we can trick the Choice Scarf to a Ferrothorn, which is a very, very solid switch in to Alakazam. curse the removal of Hidden Power Fire in this case. Otherwise, Alakazam would be looking so good. Focus Sash, not really the play. Dragon Darts exists. Yeah. And then, you know, Sucker Punch Zoroark, Bullet Punch, Lucario. Focus Sash doesn't do much for me here. So if we can trick the Scarf onto a Ferrothorn, then that's going to make it very free setup fodder for Volcarona. Very free. So, like, unless he's locked, unless he has, like, a rock move on his set, we just, like, if we get Volcarona in for free, we just click Quiver Dance and try to win the game from there, basically. Otherwise, if we keep our Scarf, then we can outspeed his Dragapult. And once we get rid of our Scarf, we have enough speed to outspeed everything on his team. Like he has a couple of mons at base 105 speed, the Zoroark and Manectric. So we outspeed those after we've tricked our Scarf away. Psyshock, because Sylveon is a thing and is very specially defensive. Dazzling Gleam hits the Dragapult as well as the Zoroark. Dazzling Gleam to hit Zoroark is more so if we, like, I don't know how great Dazzling Gleam is on the set, to be honest, but because the two things that they're meant to hit, one of them outspeeds me and one of them has priority. So yeah, I don't know, but we're running it anyways. Because I don't think we really need Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball would be for the Dragapult and for the Claydol, but we can run Energy Ball for Claydol, and that way we're also hitting his Quagsire 4 times super effectively. So that's going to be the team for this week. If you're excited for the battle, that's going to come your way tomorrow, and we will see if we can bounce back after a loss last week. If you enjoyed this team builder, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our Draft League content, and we'll see you for week 6 of the BBR tomorrow.